Welcome to episode 3. In this episode we conclude the final 3 steps in our 5-step process of successfully selling a privately owned business. And step number 3 is what we've come to call the call. I'd like to give you a significant fact and a significant number. The significant fact is 4 in 5 and the significant number is 800. Let me start with that significant fact. 4 in 5 of all BCMS deals, that's 80%. The final buyer was not looking to acquire. That means no traditional route, no brokers list would ever have found those 4 in 5 buyers, that 80%. Why? Because they're not looking. That's why the outbound prospect generation call is of course essential as step number 3. And we have a team of multilingual specialists whose job is to reach out to MDs and FDs who are not yet looking to buy, multiple parts of the UK, multiple countries around the world, and to offer them this acquisition opportunity. They might call me Mr. Oliver. We've got an acquisition opportunity. I can't at this stage tell you the name of the client for appropriate confidentiality reasons, but we think there are the following 3 benefits in this for your company to consider, and they'll then lay out those 3 benefits. They'll also ethically and transparently talk about competition. They'll say, Mr. Oliver, we're actually talking to 80 or 100 other companies a little bit like yours who are all potentially considering this acquisition. I mention that because the chance of your company being the perfect fit is perhaps a bit remote, but we feel there's enough value in pursuing this opportunity. Now, of course, that's where the number 800 comes in. If you've done any sales and marketing training, you'll be well aware that on average it takes 7 or 8 attempts to get through to a decision maker, FD or MD, where you've had no previous commercial relationship. Our team will commonly make well in excess of 800 calls. Now, during these calls, we're going to maintain confidentiality, we're going to stress the competitive nature of this process, and we're going to begin whittling down. Approximately 80 to 150 successful calls will be made, and from that we'll get somewhere between 20 to 40 non-disclosure agreements. We then have to whittle that process down again into what we call the first meeting. This will be facilitated by Kingsbrook deal leader. It will be preceded by a bit of dry run with our client, what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. It's way too early at this stage to discuss price, and that's not the purpose of this first meeting. The purpose of this first meeting is very clear. It's to discover, identify, and agree the strategic fit that is there with this potential acquirer. Do they have the funds to invest? It's very easy to rule them out, actually to rule them out early in the process, and you can rule people out too early. Companies that didn't appear to have the financial strength to make the acquisition very early on from the data available in the public domain, when we get to this stage, we might well discover they've got access to funds we couldn't possibly have known about from public domain information. But if they don't have that funding right now, then we will rule them out. We're looking at the compatibility. We've talked about this already. Can the nature of their clients match well with the nature of our clients so that we can cross-sell, upsell from one set of customers to the others? We're also looking at the strategic synergies, and we're also looking at the competitive environment. Typically from those 20 to 40 non-disclosure agreements, we might have first meetings with 6, 10, 12, sometimes 15 potential acquirers that we deem to have high value. Once we've done that first call, we are then going to reduce that number down to 6 or so, and we're going to enter the bidding environment. We've done the call. Let's move now into step 3, which is the first meeting, followed by the bidding process. Let's look at this first meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Typically for us, 4, 5, maybe 6 or 7 will be invited to put in a competitive bid. And I'd like to introduce you to a company called Zephyr. And this will give you some idea as to why bids vary somewhat. According to Zephyr, in British firms will pay as little as, at one end of the scale, 2 times multiples, 2 times earnings, 2 times profit for a business. We'll be asking the question, what's the point? At the other end of the scale, they say it can be as high as 17. We'd be saying deal at that point in most cases. The most typical number in the UK is between 4 and 5, and you can see that the distribution of this curve peaks at around 4 or 5. Short-term return on investment buyers will not pay a premium for any company they purchase. The only people that will ever seem to go on and do so are longer-term strategic purchasers. Now, it's helpful to explain this to the buyers, and to explain that we're looking to sell in the top third of this if we can, certainly no worse than the middle third. We absolutely try to avoid this bottom return on investment third. But you as a buyer have got to decide what the right price is for you. We can barely even influence your decision. You've got to determine why you're buying this company and what price is appropriate for you. Now, at this stage, it is very important that you talk to the buyers about each other. You don't necessarily name the other bidders, but you must talk about the nature of the other bidders. One company may choose to put their offer in down here. Somebody else looking to diversify might say here, somebody else here or here. A Chinese firm might be trying to get a foothold here in the UK. Maybe a German firm trying to get a foothold in the UK may be prepared to pay up here. But you've got to decide what the right price is for you. We can barely even influence your decision, you'll be saying to a buyer. You may decide to put your offer down in this short-term return on investment area here. That's fine by us. We have got no problem with it whatsoever. You must feel absolutely at liberty to put your offer down there if that's the right thing for you. No problem with it except for this. We will reject your offer. A rejection of your offer doesn't make your offer invalid or illegitimate. It just means that we've misread it somewhere. It's much more short-term for you than we ever realised. You've got to decide. Now, it's here that we get typically 2 or 3 times difference between highest offer and lowest offer. Now, you may not go for the highest offer. Some of our clients will choose to go for the second offer down perhaps. Not quite such a high price, still good, but not quite so high, but the terms may be preferable. Now, what we're after here, and this is quite subtle, but it's actually very important, we're after a shift or a change in the mindset of the buyer. At some point, the buyer's thinking has to shift from how little can I get away with paying for this business to why are we really buying this company. It's only when that mindset shift takes place that we get this differential, 2 or 3 times difference between highest and lowest offer. It never happens until this point. It's now that this process gives us 2 or 3 offers that are acceptable out of the 5 or 6 offers we've received. We now secure non-binding letters of intent from those final runners. We then have to make a choice. We can't run with all 3. We've got to make a decision. In making that decision, it's critical that we do not abandon choice. We must maintain competition. Let's assume that our preferred option of the 3 is number 1. We explain to number 1 that we've decided to run with you and not with 2 and 3. We've parked them over here. It was not an easy decision. It was not all about the highest price. But we've decided to run with you and not with 2 or 3. To 2 and 3 we explain, look, we've decided to run with number 1 and not with you. It was a difficult decision. Again, it wasn't all about highest price, but we've had to make a decision. We're going to run with number 1. However, we'd like to keep talking to you. We'd like to keep the relationship alive. If for any reason number 1 pulls out, and that sort of thing does happen, we'd like to quickly come back and pick up the relationship with yourselves. But we've had to make a decision. It's now that this competition has a great impact on the 3 areas that Dave talked about in the first session. It affects the speed of the deal. Most people seriously underestimate the importance of momentum. It affects the price that is paid for your business dramatically, and it impacts the terms that you settle for, that the terms are dictated by you, the seller, and not dictated to you by the purchaser or their advisors. Competition, as you've heard, is by far the number 1 issue when selling a business. It has a greater impact than anything else. I'm emphasizing this again here because, as you can probably see, competition impacts every part of the sale process from the very beginning. That's why your research is so critical. That's why you have to invest time and resource into research. If you get that wrong, you don't end up with competition now. We have mentioned the importance of choice throughout, and we'll continue to mention the importance of choice, the number 1 issue. Step 5 is simply to do with due diligence and legal completion. We could spend a weekend talking about this. We're going to keep it fairly brief for the sake of this exercise. Lawyers and tax advisors will have been appointed by now, of course, followed by negotiations of terms. The detail of those terms will again be influenced by competition by choice, so that competition must be maintained all the way through this process. Due diligence simply means this: the buyer would like to step aboard and confirm that what they think they're purchasing is what they really are purchasing. There are no unexpected surprises. For that reason, we advocate total transparency when selling a business. You talk about all of your strengths and you talk about all of your weaknesses. What you don't want to do is have them discover your weaknesses, and they will. It is better that we disclose them. And it might be a minor issue. For example, you may have poor credit control and you have the odd bad debt that perhaps you shouldn't get. Well, talk about it. This is simply an area of improvement for the buyer. It's a positive thing to talk about. What you don't want to do is have them discover it and think to themselves, well, if they haven't told me about this, what else haven't they told me about? Great transparency, very important. The share purchase agreement or the business purchase agreement will be produced by the lawyers and batted around, and the deal is finally closed. I make it sound very simple, but actually if you get your preparation right and your disclosures right, this can be a surprisingly straightforward process. We're going to produce a bonus session on the legal issues that you might face at this stage of the process. Our internal lawyer, Simona Faltisanau, who's completed many deals over many years, will talk to us about the practical things that we can address at this stage of the process. We'll send you a notification when that video is up and running and the deal is closed. It's all so very easy. I wish. Somebody wrote a little while ago, selling a private company is the third most stressful thing that you can do in life. Well, I don't know whether it's true or not, but selling a private company can be stressful. If you've come in and the offer is at 10 million and you've accepted that offer and it starts to get beaten away and beaten down through tough negotiation, drops down to 8 million, 7 million, 6 million, and it's still going down, that is stressful. It is. Mainly because you've spent the £10 million in your mind already, and so have your family. It's a very difficult time. So it can be stressful. Here's the difference, however. If you have a choice of buyers, you are involved in dictating the terms of the deal, and it reduces stress dramatically. It does not eliminate stress, but it dramatically reduces stress. If you do not have a choice of buyers, stress increases, and it can be one of the most stressful things that you'll go through. Maybe there is some element of truth in that old saying, when you don't have competition, and that is the case in most deals that complete around the world. Well, I do hope that you've found a few things in these videos helpful. If you're going to remember anything, make it these 4 very simple things. Number 1, selling a company is a sales and marketing exercise, not a financial one. Be proactive when looking for a buyer. Number 2, look beyond the obvious. Look outside of your sector. Look beyond competitors. Look beyond the UK. If you do this, the likelihood of selling dramatically rises. Number 3, value is about future opportunity, not past performance. It's not about what you did with the business over recent years, but what the new owner can do with the business looking forwards, with all of their resources being applied to growth. And finally, number 4, choice. Choice is king. You see, selling the future remains a fanciful theory until you've got choice. A buyer is unlikely to pay for the future unless they face competition. It impacts everything. The single most important and the single most neglected issue in our industry is choice. Well, whether you're looking to sell in the near future or the distant future, we really do wish you great success in managing, building, and eventually selling your company. There is so much we couldn't say in this short series, but if you would like to talk further with us, then do pick our brains or ask us questions. Don't hesitate to call us or to email us. The contact information will be on the screen shortly. On our website we have further information, including many videos from past clients giving their thoughts. We've asked each of them what was the main piece of advice that you would give to somebody thinking of selling. We asked them all what was the hardest part of the process of selling and what was the best part. You may want to catch their thoughts. Now, we do offer a very friendly, honest and no commitment review meeting where we candidly consider aspirational value, likely saleability, the issues you might face, etc. One of the things that sets us apart at Kingsbrook is our high levels of integrity, and I can honestly speak for the integrity of all of our staff. It's a very strong criteria when we're recruiting people and part of our DNA. We talk about it continuously as a company. This means we're very honest with our clients and our potential clients. We won't make promises that we can't keep. We won't exaggerate what we can do or the outcome for you. One of our serial clients is a man called Paul Daniels. The first business that he sold through us was a company called T4 Media, and his recorded testimony about us at Kingsbrook is that we do exactly what we say on the tin. We stick with our clients through thick and thin. We're actually at every buyer-seller meeting. We lead those meetings, so we don't abdicate responsibility like so many do. We drive every meeting, physically leading every negotiation. We also work very closely with Simona, our very experienced M&A lawyer, and her team. If you'd like to talk to Simona about technical preparation, then just let us know and we'll put you in contact with her. Don't forget that there is a variety of supporting documents that you're free to download on this particular page. And from Dave and myself, once again, we do wish you great success going forwards, and thank you for joining us.